Greetings to my students, those who are today in this session. I am your botany lecturer Rohini Gupta, and today our lecture will be on morphology topic. But before getting into that detail, being this is your first class, let me to say you some points. Number one, I hope so you are ready with your notebook, and wherever you want to write important points, that should be in front of you. And before getting into our today's topic, morphology in flowering plants, we will take some of the basic things, that what do you mean by botany and why this is a topic to prepare in your NEET exam. First of all, we already described you regarding NEET exam just one day before, right? And you know that botany obviously will be one of the topic in your NEET exam whenever you are going to appear after 2 years, obviously after the processing for +1, +2. And today even the student, those who are preparing, botany is one of that subject we have to go with. And the total of that marks for the NEET exam will be 720. Total, all subjects, 720. And duration will be 3 hours 20 minutes to solve that all questions for 720 marks. Let me repeat, 720 marks you have to cover in 3 hours and 20 minutes. In that 720 marks, you are having 180 marks for your botany. Fine? And there you are having, under botany I am specifying, I repeat, 720 marks will be total is of your NEET exam. Duration 2 hours 20 minutes, and botany contribution there will be 180, right? There you are having section A and section B. Fine? In section A you have to attempt 35 questions. Section B you have to attempt, you will find 15 questions, but you have to attempt 10 out of 15. Means you have choice among 5. You can take that 10 which you know the best, right, in section B. But section A, all 35, here I am talking about questions. Are you getting that? And each question will be of 4 marks. Are you getting that? And here will be the negative marking, either it is of section A or section B. Your marks will be deducted if you are making incorrect response, then total 5 marks will be deducted. Means 4 marks of that question, add on to that negative marking. If you are not attempting, then 4 marks. Clear? So we are working here for 180 marks under botany. Each subject, zoology, physics, chemistry, each 180 marks you have to go with. So botany here we have to work for 180 out of 720 marks, right? This is the one thing you should know. Second thing what you should know here regarding are the topic what we are going to start today, botany. It is derived from the Greek term that is a boskin. That means the cattle feed. What I have written here? Greek language. In the full course, we will discuss some scientific term. And origin of every scientific term mostly will be the Greek and the Latin language, being these are dead languages. Dead languages means no further changes happen. English is a live language where the daily new terms are coming, or you can say the additions are there. That's why it is a live language. Dead language is Greek and Latin language. So we will use these terms again and again. If you have good command on these terms, maybe you need not to write out the things. See, our main motive is to bridge you from your 10th standard and gradually into the intermediate course. It is a gradual process. It is not a sudden that we are going to force on you all the things. We will come into that, the final stage of the NEET when we have gradually overcome all the stages one after the another. This is one of that step we should know, that you should know the meaning of some technical terms. Maybe every will not have, but many will have the meanings. Like here one I said you, botany itself derived from the word boskein, which is in a Greek language, that means cattle feed. Fine. So this is an introduction of my, you can say the subject botany. Then the today's topic, that is based on morphology of flowering plants. This is a basic concept which we have to start when we are dealing in botany. Fine. So what we have to discuss in this chapter, let's again analyze all the things here, like terminology. Gradually I said you, this is one of the tip I am giving you, where you have to split the term and get the meaning. You need not to mug up the things. I hope so. I am clear to everyone, right? So please respond that parallelly if the things are clear to you in one or the way by putting thumbs up or saying yes parallelly to that. It makes us comfortable to give you the better thing, right? So first topic what we are discussing, morphology of flowering plants. There the word morphology morpho word stands for what thing? Morpho stands for the forms. Ology stands for study. So what we are studying here? Forms, along with that features. And this is a common term, morphology, we can apply for the plant physiology or for the animal physiology. As we are discussing the morphology in flowering plants. What do you mean by flowering plants? These are higher plants like what you are looking all around you, which are giving flowers. If we are saying like alga, fungus is a non-photosynthetic. Obviously they cannot show the photosynthesis. But alga, if I am pointing, this can show the photosynthesis. Can they show the flowers over there? It cannot. We will learn within a +1 that there are the different categories of plants like bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperm, angiosperms. What thing I am speaking? Just wait for the time, we will clarify. But still I want to say you, we have that categorization. But we have chosen that thing which is much common to you people. What are that? The plants which are in your surrounding, like mango tree is there, rose plant is there. These are all higher plants. So we have to discuss in this chapter about it morphology and of which organism? Of the plants, not of animals. But morphology is what thing? Common term. Both for plants as well as for the animals. We can study in detail the forms of the, you can say organs of the plants or of the animals, right? So I hope so you have understood the main heading, morphology of flowering plants. Morpho means form, ology means study. Wherever you will find this as prefix or suffix, the meaning will remain same. Only thing you have to apply that thing as a formula and get out with the meaning of that thing. Fine? Okay. Now, we have to enter in this topic while saying that the morphology will be of two types. What are the two types? It can be external morphology or it can be the internal morphology. External means just by looking outside, whether it is a herb, shrubs, trees, or if it is a tree or a shrub or a herb, what type of leaves they are having, what type of root system they are having, what type of stem they are having, just looking outside. That you call it as what thing? External morphology. As the word is indicating, external, right? Internal morphology is what? It will go further into two things. One is what thing? Histology. Next is what thing? Anatomy. Right? Now again, we have to dissect the word. You will get the meaning out of it. Histo means what thing? Histo means what thing? Tissues. Ology means what thing? Study. Study of tissues. Now what are tissues? I hope so you know the cell. When cells united together to make a group performing this almost same function and origin same. The detail again we will discuss gradually in a topic. Simply you should know cells are the basic thing which cluster to form the tissues. Like brick by brick, the wall is formed, then walls are forming the room. In the same way, the cell by cell, tissues are forming some organ. In plants, we will stop up to the organ. But in animals, you are having the systems as well. Still higher. Then organism itself will be animal there. But directly from organs, we can say for the plants. Fine. But still, what I am speaking, you are not getting. Gradually, we have to come into the chapter to chapter. Right? So, just now you should know histome is the tissues. What ology stands for? Just now I said you. That means the study. So, study of tissues, what you call it as? Histology. Now, anatomy. Ana means up. Tomy is to cut. To cut up the thing. Now, you have to cut the plant and check how these tissues are arranged. That detailed study you call it as anatomy. I am simply introducing the morphology term and telling you of two types. What is that? External and internal. Today we have to discuss which type of morphology? External morphology. We will talk only about the external feature of the flowering plants. Are you getting that? So here we are talking about the external forms and features. Of what thing we have to discuss? Of the flowering plants. I hope so it is clear to everyone. Any doubt to anyone? Please put some indication so that we can understand. Okay, fine. We are getting the response now. So, means here we are getting forms and features of external, you can say features of the organs, or we can say organs or an organism as a whole, right? That is external. Internal means that is in another topic, anatomy of flowering plants. There is a totally separate chapter we will discuss. But right now we are focusing only on the external one, right? I hope so you are understanding that part. Anatomy. Okay, anatomy is what thing? Ana means to cut open. When you cut a plant, I said you suppose this is a stem, and when you cut that stem and find which type of cells are there, how they are arranged, that you call it as anatomy part. Fine. If still doubt is there, it will be much clear when we will discuss the anatomy part. It will be more clear. I will show you the pictures over there. Then it will be more clear. Now main focus today on the external morphology. Fine. Now coming to that part, next, in case of external morphology, if we will go with, in the plants, you are having these things which everyone knows it will be there in a plant. It is having shoot system, it is having root system. Can I say shoot system is the upper part of a plant? Fine. And root system is underground. What I said? Underground part of the plant, that you call it as a root system. So it is made up of which organ? Roots. Clear? So shoot system is what thing? Which is the aerial part, right? Or you can say which is above the ground. This part you call it as what thing? Shoot system. Fine, this is a common thing from the childhood you are learning that part. So we are bridging, I repeat, your 10th standard with the upcoming chapter gradually, right? I hope so you are understanding the things. So shoot system is upper part, root system is lower part. Now shoot system, when we will take this into detail, right? In case of morphology, if I discuss the two systems we have to take here, shoot system and the root system, right? In the root system, totally it is the vegetative part of the plant. Vegetative part means which is not involving in the reproduction, they are the vegetative part. Those who are involving in reproduction, like flower, they have the male female sex organs over there. You call that as a reproductive part of the plant. So here root system is completely vegetative part. No doubt exceptions are there. We are not looking for the exceptions right now. We are generalizing the concept. So root system is a vegetative part, but shoot system include both vegetative parts and even the reproductive parts. Right? So what are the vegetative parts over there? Can I say the vegetative parts here includes what thing? The stem, right? It will include what thing over there? Can I say it will be having leaves, right? And what next? Buds, right? These will come under some examples I have given, which is coming under the vegetative parts of the plant. Reproductive part of the plant is what? Flower, right? So based on these vegetative part means these parts. Let me to mark this. Please give your attention here now. Don't go after writing the thing. Just listen first of all on this point especially. If I am taking this part and taking here the root part, this together, this one and this one, this is indicating what thing? This is indicating the vegetative morphology. What it is indicating? Vegetative morphology, right? Fine. This is a vegetative morphology, and obviously that morphology which deals with the flower, the reproductive part, that morphology you call it as reproductive morphology. Are you getting that? Fine. So here to check the voice clarity, sir, somewhere it is not. Please do check your net connection even. Maybe there is a problem. Many students are getting this clarity. Just check that connection, please. Okay. Now I repeat the thing. What is that? If shoot system we are discussing, both vegetative parts are there as well as reproductive. If reproductive part are there, we are learning on that you call it as reproductive morphology. But the shoot system and root system, shoot system, this very parts are coming under which morphology? Vegetative morphology, right? I hope so clear to everyone. Please put the thumbs up for this if you are getting. Say give any response, yes or thumbs up, so that we can continue with the topic. Fine? Okay. Now here, this is about this thing. Two types we discussed. Morphology. I said you internal, external. Fine. Even I discussed with you again two types of morphology based on the parts. It will be what thing? Vegetative morphology, and even it will be a reproductive morphology. Are you getting that? So first of all, we will pick up which morphology? Vegetative morphology in detail, where we will discuss somewhat about the roots, then we will discuss about the stem, then we will discuss about the leaves. Now what is this buds? I will say you this thing even. When you will see this structure, can you see here, this is a shoot system, this is a stem part, like this main axis, this is a stem part. Obviously these are leaf, which is a main photosynthetic part, and flower, just now I said you, this is a reproductive part. Fine. Now what are the buds? Buds are somewhat like this, which is simply has to convert into the branch during a plant, like when you are sowing some seeds, it sprout like a small seedling. At that time obviously there will be no flower. Then that buds will give out to the branches and help in the more growth of the plant. But once your plant matures, you find some flowers on that. Then that buds will start giving what thing? Flowers. Are you getting that? At that time you call them as a floral buds. Are you getting that? Flora word is related to flower here right now. Otherwise flora means plants. Fauna means animals, right? So floral buds means which are giving flowers. Vegetative bud means which are giving the branches. Is that clear? So I hope so the bud word is clear to you everyone. So we were on this topic where I said you we will discuss stem, leaves and the roots under vegetative morphology. Flower we will discuss under the reproductive morphology. Fine. So let's take first of all about the stem. Now for the stem, can I say the stem? Will it be a green or non-green part of the plant? It will be non-green when it becomes woody. Are you getting that? When it is mature, it is what thing? Non-green. But when it was young, when your plant is young, you will find the stems are green in color. So early they are green, but gradually, slowly it becomes non-green. Fine. Aerial or it is going to be subaerial. Better word, not subaerial, I must say underground. Aerial or underground, it will be aerial part. Fine. So aerial part, this stem will be initially what thing? Green. Later it becomes non-green. Next thing, what is there? This stem is coming out. When you are sowing a seed into the ground, it is coming out from the plumule part. It is coming out from the plumule part of the embryo. What is plumule part? When a seed is sown, suppose I am taking example of like gram. Like chana is there, no? White grams are there. When you soak it and sow it under the soil, then what will happen? You will find like something is sprouting out. And here are some two cotyledons. Are you getting that? This upper part, this you call it as plumule, which actually comes out from the earth or from the soil, which comes out. Plumule. And the lower part, this tip. Right? This tip part, you call it as what thing? Radicle. Radicle is going to give the root system, whereas plumule is going to give the shoot system. This is for example, I said. Are you getting that? And this thing are what? The food for the growing embryo. Embryo means this part, which has to give rise to new plant. These food giving structures here, that you call it as cotyledons. Right? We will discuss in detail later on. When you come, we will discuss more in detail that what cotyledons are there in a gram or what type of cotyledons will be there in wheat. Are you getting? Wheat, you know that what word I used? Wheat. Or in rice. Clear? So there is a difference in the seed of a wheat or of gram. What is that difference? We will take it in description for your need level, right? Just now we are bridging the things together. So come back on this point. Stem is non-green in the woody state, mature state. Green it will be young, and plumule part is of which thing? Embryo. It originates from which part? Plumule part. Fine. And stem is having nodes and internodes. Now what do you mean by nodes and internodes? For this thing I am going back on that slide again. When we will check this slide, can you see here the leaf is coming out from this point? Again leaf is coming on this point. The point where the leaves are coming out, that point you call it as node. Are you understanding? So what is node? The point from where the leaves are coming out. Right? I am repeating that point again. This is very important. The point from where the leaves are coming out, that point you call it as nodes. And the space or the distance between that two nodes, that you call it as internode. Like here node they already marked, here is a next node, or you can say this is next node. I repeat, this is one node, this is second node. Distance between that is what? Internode. Inter means between two different things. Intra means within same. But this is not on the same node. This is between the two nodes. That's why what is there? Internode. Like you are having intra-school competition, means within the school. Inter-school competition means between two different schools. So here word we are using inter. Inter what thing? Node. So it is between two nodes, that's why you call it as internode. So what I am teaching, not only chapter, But even how to learn the terms, like you should know the term inter. So it makes you comfortable to understand many concepts. Fine. Okay. So this is one thing we discussed. What is that? Nodes and internodes, present or absent? In case of stem, it will be present. Fine. And already I described you, buds are present. Just now I said you, had I pointed the buds into the root system? No. I pointed where? That is in the shoot system. So these are the some of the features important I mention you for the stem. Fine. Now let's see what is the main role of the stem. What is the function of stem? What can be the function of stem? Have you seen the main stem is spreading out many branching and conducting the water and minerals from soil to aerial part. That are the main two functions. What I said to you, what are the main functions? Number one is what? Spreading out the branches. Are you getting that? Next is what thing? Conducting water and minerals. Minerals means like something sodium, potassium, that ionic form. Organic structure like protein, or even when we talk about like conducting water, minerals. Minerals means what thing? Some of the inorganic form. Just now I speak like sodium, potassium, chloride, that type of things, that are the minerals. Are you getting? So like a sponge, it is picking that and giving to what part? Aerial parts of the plant. Fine. So these are the two functions main of what thing? Of the stem. I hope so you are getting that point. Any doubt to anyone? Please point out here. Okay, bud I am repeating once again. What do you mean by the bud? Bud is that structure Okay, I repeat again, what is a bud here? This is that structure which has to give out branches, like when you sow a seed and you are waiting for a plant to come out. So it gives rise to branches. Are you getting that? So that bud obviously help your plant to grow. But when your plant is getting mature, gradually it has to flower as well, because which plants we are discussing? Morphology of flowering plants. So same bud, or what same bud I mean to say that the bud organ which will be there at that time will start forming what thing? Flowers. Are you getting that? That you call it as a bud. I hope so it is clear. Fine. One student asked me, is that clear? Okay. Then after this you are having, these are the feature. I hope so it is clear to you regarding the feature of stem. And after that we discuss the functions. Why we discuss the function of stem? Because you will find some of the exceptions now, which you call it as what thing? Modifications. Modification of stem, right? In your book they have given roots, no doubt. First they have started with the roots. But what you see externally, the stem, I am starting from that point, right? So root we will come on that point even gradually, but stem, is that clear? Now coming to the modifications. What in the modification you will find of the stem? Okay. Now can you see these are the modifications? Fine. I think so it is stable for you now. So these are the one category of modification of stem I have shown you. This modification you call it as what? Underground stem modifications. What do you mean by underground stem modification? Obviously which is below the surface of the ground, right? Let me clarify that point even. Before getting into that point, if I talk about stem modifications, what topic now we are discussing? stem modification. 3 categories we will discuss. What are that 3 categories? One is the underground stem modification. Next we will discuss about subaerial stem modification. Then we will discuss about aerial stem modification. These 3 categories we will discuss. Fine. First of all, you should know the meaning of all the terms. Underground, obviously under means below the ground. Fine. So obviously if I am taking this as a ground level, fine. If any modification is below that, like you know about potato is there under the ground, this will be underground stem modification. Fine. I will come on with more examples, right? So sub means just touching to the ground. Are you getting that? Because if I am making any plant like this, aerial, have you seen like orange plant over there, shrub of the orange? Or I can say citrus fruits. You will experience there some thorns are there, like some thorns are there. But these thorns are much higher in level to the ground. That's why you call it as aerial stem modification. Fine. Subaerial means if this is a ground level, then where the plants will be, like you have learned about. Okay, so here I was thinking maybe you are asking some doubt. Okay, so subaerial means which is below that. This is aerial, below that. Fine. And touching to the ground like this. How? Like you know grasses, right? How it is running on the ground. Are they growing erect? No. They are just creeping on the ground. That modification you call it as subaerial. I repeat, underground means below the ground level. Subaerial means touching to the ground. How we come on the word subaerial? Because aerial means much above the ground. Like in oranges, thorns are there for protection. This is much above the level of ground. So what is subaerial? Below to that area, just touching to the ground, for example in case of grasses. Example. And here I have given you the example of potato. This is not a topic, simply I am discussing the meaning of terms. Is that clear to everyone? I hope so. You understood what is stem. Now we are discussing some exceptions things which normally not functioning for spreading of branching or for conduction of water and minerals. No doubt they are doing that, but they are modified. For what thing? They are modified for the other functions as well. Right? Here you are asking subaerial like water, melon. It is not like that. Right? Watermelon will be, we will discuss in the aerial stem modification. For tendrils we will discuss there. Right? Aerial stem modification it will be. Okay, now coming back to this, to explain this part, let me to take the point from here. So can you see the heading? Underground stem modification. Don't see to the labeling at all. I repeat, don't look to the labeling at all. This is the level of a NEET after some classes or during when you come here. Then typically everything detailing we will go. Right? So just focus on the terms underground stem modifications. These all structures, like for example, rhizome is the name of that modification. For example, let me to start with a very simple thing. You know potato, tubers are there. They are under the ground. The name is, modification name is tuber. And what is its function? Storage of food. The stem is such like that, which is not aerial. It is becoming underground. We said stem, or you can say the shoot system is above the ground. But now this is a modification. It is coming down and more function of this is what? Storage. So this is one of the example of stem modification. So this is the name of the modification which you call it as tuber. Which tuber it is? Stem tuber. So stem tuber is not a root, being it is underground. No, it is what thing? Stem only. Having nodes, internode. Have you seen the potato? They are having like something like this on this. This is indicating the nodes of the potato. So it is indicating it is a stem, not a root, because you have learned the stem is having the nodes and internodes. Are you getting that? Okay. Why thorns are formed, we will discuss in the topic under that. Right now I am on underground stem modification. Under aerial stem modification I will say. Fine. Okay. So here I repeat, this is a tuber, one modification. Just now I said you. And what example over here of tuber? What will be the example? Many time I spoke. Potato will be the example here. Fine. Next after this is a rhizome. It is again underground. What example will come here? Like turmeric is there. Right? Ginger even there. Turmeric which is under the ground. But being under the ground never means they are root. They are again the modification of stem, and even it is helping in the storage. Are you getting that? I repeat, don't go after the labelings. Only just keep in your mind the points what I am telling you. Fine. One point I said you tuber. This is one of the underground stem modification. Second is a rhizome. Next one category we discussed. Under this category what example? Turmeric I said you. Right. Then after that modification. Modification means what normally a plant is performing some function, like stem, the part of it is performing the function of spreading or conduction. Instead of that it is performing something else. Like here the function they are performing storage here, storage here. Are you getting that? So that you call it as modification. Change of form and features to perform functions other than the main function. That you call it as modification. Are you getting that? Okay, fruits we will discuss in last, jackfruit, right? So that is a big detail. We will discuss that what type of fruit, simple fruit, aggregate fruit, composite fruit, that is a much higher level to talk about, right? So jackfruit is not any modification right now to discuss. That is a category of food we will discuss on a higher level. Clear? Okay, I hope so. First point is clear, second point is clear. Now one more modification, you find it combs. Even it is a stem modification. Example is colocasia. What can be the example here? Colocasia. Common name is what thing? Arabi. What is the common name to that? Arabi. Clear? So just name if you cannot understand, but pictures are in front of you, and I said you already when you are taking in your mind the topics. One trick, splitting of term. Second thing, keep pictures in your mind. That will help to retain you in a better way. I can write the terms even, but I found that maybe the pictures will reflect a better impression on your exam, right? So first I repeat, underground stem modification, tuber we discussed, under which example we discussed? Potato. Then we discussed rhizome, their example what we discussed? Turmeric. Clear? Then we discussed about the comb, where example I discussed colocasia. Fine, their common or Hindi name is a Arabi. Then for a bulb, like this is very common thing. Here can you see the stem is discoid. It is not for storage. You are actually eating their leaves. So that will be a leaf modification. We will not discuss in stem modification. This is very important thing. In case of onion, this is onion, where you are eating not its stem, you are eating their leaves. That will be the leaf modification. And stem, how it is modified? When you cut the onion, can I say it is having something disc-like at the base, which you actually cut and throw. This discoid thing, that you call it as a discoid stem. Whenever you get the word oid, O-I-D, oid as suffix, suffix means which is at the last of the word. Oid means like that. It is disc-like, which is a reduced type of stem, right? Comb function is even for the storage. Are you getting? Even it is for storage of food. Are you getting? But here it is what thing? It is a reduced type of stem. Why it is reduced type here? Because here main functional thing are what thing? Bulb. Bulb means having that leaf modified, what we are eating that. So leaves are storing here, not the stem. Then how it is a stem modification? Because stem is not straight here like this. It is not erect. Fine. It is going to be what thing? compressed like a coin, right, like a disc. That's why we are learning it under modification. And it is underground. It is present under the ground, not the upper side. Are you getting that? So we finished one topic under the stem, underground stem modification, where we discussed one modification named tubers, then we discussed rhizome, then we discussed comb, then we discussed the bulb. Are you getting that? So what is the edible part? Edible means which we can eat. That part are the leaves, not the stem. Fine. Okay, adventitious root means which is not coming from the radicle. I will discuss in the root about this. Are you getting that? I said you don't read the labelings. Just focus on the words what I am speaking right now. It will make you more understanding with the topic. Fine. Because this session is just like I am teaching you A, B, C, D. Are you getting that? So we have to learn the words. How to build the words from that letters. And how to make the sentence. When you start forming the sentence, obviously means you are prepared for the NEET exam. Just now A, B, C, D and even not full alphabets we are learning. Only few we are learning, being this is a bridge course. So that gradually we should come into the things. We don't want to pressurize you. We have to relax you and enjoy the studies. So don't pressurize by the extra things. What a teacher is telling you, what your NCERT book is telling you, only focus on that thing. Obviously you will get pressurized less. Don't see to anyone, just see to yourself how much you are getting. Fine? Okay, coming back to the topic, I hope so these headings are clear. How many types? In case of tuber, what is the edible part? Stem only, underground stem part. Underground stem part will be the edible thing. Obviously, storage of food. Potato, what you are eating? The stem which is underground. Colocasia arbi is the name of the vegetable which is like this, which is under the ground. Are you getting? There is nothing meaning of that. Simply this is the name of a vegetable which is a modification of the stem and that is underground. Fine? Okay, now coming to the next part. Difference between tubers and the rhizome. Tubers, when you will see, there is a presence of adventitious root. Like one student asked me, adventitious root I spoke you which is not coming from radicle. I said you radicle is giving out the root system. If instead of the radicle, if roots are coming out from the stem, that you call it as adventitious roots. And that is there in a rhizome. But have you found any hanging roots here? There is no roots on the potato itself. That is the main difference to identify the rhizome and the potato. I hope so you get your answer. Fine. Function of bulb means it is the edible leaf part. Fine. Okay, now coming to the next thing we discussed right now, underground stem modification. Next we have to discuss about what thing? Subaerial stem modification. Just now I said you subaerial means which is just touching to the ground part. Like first here is a runners. Runners means like grasses. You have seen on the ground they are running like this, right? This is a stem part which is lying on the ground. Having nodes, I hope so now you know the nodes and internodes. So on the nodes what are there? Leaves, right? And from the nodes these are the roots which are coming out, right? Being this is touching to the ground, that's why you call it as runners. Fine? Okay, rhizome is having the adventitious roots but potato will not have. Function of bulb is the leaves which are edible and storing the food over there. Are you getting that? Okay, now coming back to the subaerial. Subaerial, I hope so you understood. Like this is the ground, the stem instead of like this, it is creeping on the ground like this. Are you getting? Having nodes and internodes. So on the nodes what will be there? Leaves. Example of runners is what? Grasses. Fine. Now stolones. Second. Now please check it here. Very important now. What are stolones? This is again aerial. If I am taking, this is the level of the ground. Now what will happen? It will, the aerial stems are there. Normally like an aerial stem. It will start coming out one of the branch from the main plant, but it arches downward. Arches means making like this bend. and where it touches to the ground, it gives rise to new plant. So can I say it is not for storage, it is just to multiply itself? Are you getting that? That you call it as what thing? Vegetative propagation. What do you call it as? Vegetative propagation. Are you getting that? Vegetative propagation means to multiply itself, to grow more, like grass even. When you see the grasses, no, when you pull out some grasses, you are sitting on the any grassy area, you are plucking out some of the grass, it will again form. Because the sidewise more stems are there which keep on giving the new one, right? How it will come, that we will discuss later. Just keep in your mind subaerial. What do you mean by subaerial? Touching to the ground. What one category we discussed? Runner. What is an example over there? Grasses. Are you getting that? So here what we are discussing, there when we are discussing about grasses, the example will be runners. Then when we are discussing stolons, what is the difference here and here? It is going straight, but here it is arches downward like this. And where it touch, what is this thing? Lateral branch, but it is not going straight. It arches downward, where it touch, it gives rise to new plant. Fine. And labeling, I repeat, don't see that. Just focus on the point what I am speaking. So this is what thing stolon, and here what is an example here? Mint is there, na? Mint plant is that, is an example. Now coming to next part, suckers. Suckers are what? Please see here once again. This is a main plant. Again lateral branch. Same like stolon tries to make a lateral. But it is not arches downward. It is not making arc. It is going obliquely. Obliquely means at some angles like this. It is not arches. Where arch is there, this is what thing? Arch. Arch is there in which case? Stolon. But arch is not there, what thing? In case of sucker. It is going what thing? Obliquely upward. Are you getting that? Simply we are discussing the meaning of subaerial, under which the first type we discussed, runner. Second type, what we discussed? Stolon. What is an example of a runner? Grasses. What is an example of stolon? Mint. What is an example of a sucker? The example here you must write for the very common. Let me to take the very common thing which you know very well. Have you seen banana? Right? Banana, their branches, you see the banana plant, there the branches are coming like obliquely. Are you getting that? That you call it as what thing? Suckers, like this coming up. But why you call it as subaerial? Because it is touching to the ground, then it is coming up, giving rise to new plant. So can I say the subaerial are more for creating more plants. Mint, if you are growing now, it will spread automatically. Why? Because the branches what is coming, they keep on branching more and spreading more to the new type of the, or you can say niche. Niche means what thing? Places. Are you getting? Different places which is adjoining to that. Fine. Last is what thing? Offsets. Offsets are in the aquatic plants. These are in which type of plant? Aquatic plant. Aquatic means which are living in water, right? Like these are in which type of plants? I will write here. Let me to write. We discussed very first under subaerial runners. We discussed their stolon. We discussed their suckers, right? These are in which type of plant? Terrestrial plants means which are living on the land. But fourth, what now I am going to discuss with you, offsets. These are present in which case? Aquatic plants. Are you getting that? This is present in case of the aquatic plants. Are you getting that? Now, here what we have to discuss, this part, last one, offset, right? This example is what thing? Iconia, right? When you will see in a stagnant water, no, some leaves are coming out from there. Very beautiful shape of that leaves are there. and this is same like runners. But this is on the terrestrial plant, this is on where aquatic type of plant, fine. But here this internode, this is internode, right? This is even internode having nodes on this point. I hope so, I need not to say again. Nodes are where the leaves are originating. Runners are what thing? Runners are having this part. Are you getting that? Which is internode, thin and elongated and spreading. Here the internode is what thing? Here the internode will be thick and it is going to be short. It is very much short as compared to this. But motive is same, that is to multiply the plant more. So offset will multiply the plant more in the water. Runners, stolon and suckers multiplying the plant more on the terrestrial part. Pineapple, even one student asked, that is from the suckers. Are you getting that? Pineapple is a modification of the sucker. You are right in that. Fine. So I am not going in much detail. I hope so. Today in this part of stem, subaerial is clear to you. And if I ask you, tubers will come under subaerial or under the underground? Obviously underground. If I am asking for runner, stolons or suckers or offset, it will come under what thing? Subaerial modification. Obviously it will not be the underground stem modification, right? So I discussed how many modifications we will discuss? 3 modification of stem. First, what we completed? Underground stem modification. Second, subaerial stem modification. We are left with which one? Aerial stem modification. Fine. So here, does grass multiply as like as stolon? Obviously, these all are for what thing? Vegetative propagation. All the modification. Underground stem modification mainly are for storage, and subaerial stem modification is for multiplication. Fine. Okay. Pistil is also an example here. It will come under here, right? So please don't go such in tension. Obviously, if you take tension more, it will unnecessarily spoil your basic things. We are here to explain from the basic to higher. Just what today I am telling you, just see that words and focus there. So this is about the subaerial stem modification. Next is what? Aerial stem modification, which is above the ground. Can I say in case of this, what is this thing? Cactus, right? I hope so. Cactus is very common, you know that. There, what is there? This is a stem, this green part. This green part is what thing? Phyllodes. What do you mean by the phyllodes? Not phyllodes, sorry. It will be what thing? Phylloclade. Let me to repeat again this point. Please listen it again. This is what thing? Phylloclade, not phyllodes. Phyllodes is something else. I will describe later. Phylloclade is what? Phyllo means leaves. Leaves like what thing? Clade means what thing? Stem. Leaves like stem, you call it as phylloclade. Now here stem is modified for what thing? Photosynthesis. Are you getting that? It is not, it is going to modify to perform the function other than the primary function. Photosynthesis is the main function of what thing? Leaves, not of stem. That's why it is a stem modification. Are you getting that? So here, this is for what thing? Photosynthesis is done by the phylloclade. Next modification, this is a first. Then is a cladodes. What is cladode? Please listen here, very important. Here example will be what thing? Ruscus, right? Or it is asparagus, right? So what is there here? Can you see stem is normal here? Main stem is normal. But what are these? These are not leaves. These are the branches which become modified like the leaf. So I repeat, in phylloclade, main stem and branches all are photosynthetic. Whereas in case of cladode, only branches are photosynthetic. Getting my point? So here, you are asking about radish and carrot. That is a modification of root, not of stem. Fine. So cladode, the main stem is normal stem, but now branches when become photosynthetic, that you call it as cladode. Next is what thing? Thorns. Just now I said you the example in the beginning of citrus, right? That are having thorns. Now what is the function of thorns here? You asked me there. Protection. Right? They will protect the plant from grazers. Right? This is a function which is not actually the primary function of stem. It is performing the function other than that. That's why you call it as modification. See, thorns are not present in cactus. I said you just focus on the word what I am telling you. I said you what thing? Phylloclades. Don't see the other labeling. Here are spines. There are no thorns in the cactus. Right? So, just focus on the point what I am speaking. Cladode, I repeat, the main stem remain as such. No photosynthesis. Only in young stage when it is green it is photosynthetic. But now the branches when it comes like the leaves. Not exactly the shape of leaf, but it become like a leaf. Why? Because it is having the pigments to show the photosynthesis. So cladode is what? Where branches become photosynthetic. Fine. Thorns are for the protection. Second last is for the tendrils. Like you have asked me for watermelon. Watermelon is coming under this stem tendrils. Where here the axillary bud will modify it into what thing? Tendrils. Bud, I hope so you know. What word I used? Axillary. Axillary means in the angle of main stem and the leaf. In the angle of the main stem and the leaf, when bud is giving this spiral thing to support. What is the function here? Support. Tendrils are giving support to weak stem. So tendril in watermelon is a modification of stem. And from which part of stem it is coming out? Axillary bud. Axillary means what thing? Which is at the angle of stem and of the leaf. That you call it as axillary bud, which modified into tendril. Then is for bulbils. Bulbils, example you should know here, agave. Right? Now here see, very interesting thing is happening. There is again bud, which will start storing food. And when this bud sheds off, it is leaving the plant. It gives rise to new plant. Fine? So can I say it is performing the function of storage as well as it is performing the function of what thing? The propagation, means it is making more plants. So bulbil, I repeat, the modification of stem. Which part of a stem? Again axillary bud. When it starts storing food and when it shed, it gives rise to new plant. Getting? So what we completed right now? Aerial stem modification. So aerial stem modification include phylloclade, cladode, thorns, stem tendrils, bulbil. Fine? Now if I am giving you, is bulbil axillary? Yes, it will be axillary in position. Fine? Okay. Now let's recapitulate some points. Like think in your mind and maybe it is a correct answer. If I am asking potato, stem or root modification? It will be stem modification, number 1. Number 2, will it be underground or it is subaerial or aerial? Just give me response for this question. Everyone, try to give the response. Potato is stem modification, okay. Underground, subaerial or aerial? Quickly, give me the response for this. I am waiting for your response. Underground, very nice. Only one student respond. Underground, very nice, very nice. Fine, good. Now, if I am giving you one more question, based on what thing? Runners. What type of modification? Runners. 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 Which type of modification? Underground, subaerial or aerial? Runners. Very nice. Subaerial. Very nice. Very nice. All are listening very carefully. This is the third point of success. If you are listening and giving the correct answer, this is the next step to your preparation. Are you getting that? I repeat, this is not only a class. This is just to make your mindset to reach up to that level with full confidence. Fine? Very nice. Okay, one more example already in front of you. Thorns are which modification? Thorns are which modification? Answer in front of you. Open book test. Aerial, very nice. Good, good. Nice. Okay, now coming to the next part. What is the next part here? We will not go on the leaf right now. Let me to go on the topic of the roots, right? Okay. Now what is the root here? Next organ, the root. Will it be a vegetative part or the reproductive part? Say me, whether it is a reproductive part or the vegetative part? Roots, vegetative or reproductive part? It will be the vegetative part. Are you getting that? It will be the vegetative part. It is coming under vegetative morphology. Very nice. Okay. Now this vegetative part, can I say it is non-green? Exceptions I am not discussing. I am not discussing modification in journal features. It is non-green, and I already said you, please give me this quick response from where its origin is, from where the root is originated. From where the roots originate. From where the roots originate. Like stem originate from plumule. Root originate from which part? Radicle. Very nice. Very nice. So here origin is what thing? Radicle. Fine. So will it have nodes and internodes? They don't have, because nodes, internodes are the feature of stem. So can I say this is without what thing? Nodes and internodes. Are you getting that? This is without nodes and internodes. Obviously they will not have buds. Some exceptions are there. We will take later on. Are you getting that? So here just keep in your mind, just we are learning the terminology. Depth we are not supposed to go now. This is not a right stage and time to take much depth about it, right? So just keep in your mind, non-green means it is not green in color, pigment is not there. It is journal feature, it will not show photosynthesis. It will be under the ground, the system, and from which part it is coming? It is coming from the radical part of embryo. Now, what are the regions? Regions means what are the parts? Even before the regions, better I must take the topic types. What are the types of root? What you were asking me in the beginning, right? I am taking that point now. These. How many type of roots are there? Taproot, fibrous root, adventitious root. I already mentioned you what do you mean by adventitious. Where the origin is not what thing? Radical. Here the origin is not radical. Right? Cross means what? Not radical. But in taproot and fibrous, the origin is what thing? Radical. Then what do you mean? What do you mean by the difference between this? I want to ask the difference between the taproot and fibrous root. I hope so you have seen mustard or you have seen mango. In young stage when you take it out, you will find this type of thing, where the central main you call it as primary root, and it have branches and sub branches. Like primary branch, primary root is this, secondary level is this, tertiary is this. They keep on branching and rebranching. Such complete you call it as what thing? Taproot. But origin is what? Radical. Fibrous is what? Listen this point carefully. This is very important. If you are having some stem on the upper side by plumule, lower side is the radicle giving the roots. This is the ground part. Now what happened? If this root gradually disappear, this root gradually disappear, which is coming from radicle. Are you getting that? The root gradually disappear, which is coming from radicle, but originated from radicle. Then what it is giving out? It is giving a bunch of roots. From which part? From the base of stem. So can I say ultimately fibrous become what thing? Adventitious. Why? Because later the origin is not radicle. The origin is base of stem. Fine. But origin starting from radicle, that's why it is different from adventitious root. Fine. What is common between taproot and fibrous? Both originate from where? Both are originating from radicle. But this is not from radicle, but part other than radicle. What are the part other than radicle? Like from stem, even from leaves. How? We will discuss. Fine. So parts other than the radicle when it originate, adventitious. Starting from radicle, taproot or fibrous root. Fine. And taproot, the primary root will remain as such. It will divide and redivide. Whereas fibrous, the primary gradually disappears. Instead, you are having tuft. Tuft means cluster of roots hanging from the base of stem. Now the origin is not what thing? Radicle. Later the origin is what? Base of stem other than radicle. That's why you call it as what? Later it become adventitious roots. Fine. So these are the types of root. So what is taproot? Direct elongated radicle which form primary root. Beers have what thing? Lateral roots. For example, dicots. Dicots, which we even call it as dicotyledonous plants. Right? Dicotyledonous plant. For example, mustard. For example, mustard. Fine. Monocots. What are monocot, dicot? Don't take tension. Right? Just simply let me to give you. Okay. You know the white gram. When you soak it overnight. Right? And press it. You will get 2 half. If you get 2 half like this after soaking and pressing, that are dicots. And like wheat, if you soak it full night, if you press it, can it be 2 half? No. If it still remain 1, that is what thing? Monocot. Fine. So such monocot have which type of root? Fibrous root. Example of the adventitious root like grasses, because I just said you from the node part the roots are coming from the runners. This origin is not radical, origin is what thing? Node part. Fine. So grasses, monstera is again one of the plant we will discuss in detail. Banyan tree I will discuss in a modifications. Are you getting that? So these are what thing? Types of the root. Okay. Then after that, adventitious roots are which type? Like taproot or fibrous? It is not like of any type. We will take, I will say you in modification. The clarity will be there. Fine. Okay, maize will come here under fibrous. All monocots will come under here, right? Okay. Now coming to the next part. These are the regions. What are the parts of root? When you take out the root now, they are having maturation region with these hairs. At which side? On the above side, right? And at the apex, this is the actually tip of the root. It is going under the ground like this. The work is going on like this. So this will be the tip and this will be the base. You will find root hairs. What is the function of root hairs? For the absorption of water and minerals. Are you getting that? It is increasing the surface area. Maybe in your 10th standard you have learned digestion topic, no? There you are having villi in the intestine which will increase the surface area for absorption. Likewise, roots are having this hairs to absorb maximum of water and minerals from the soil. Are you getting that? Then after that, region of elongation will help the growth of the root towards the soil, right? Region of meristematic means here cells keep on dividing. They keep on dividing. And here is for protection. A cap is there. Why a protection is required for the root? Because it has to travel into a denser medium of a soil. So by friction, this soft part of dividing cell can be damaged. If dividing cells are damaged, can root grow more? Can it grow more towards the water? No. So for that it needs protection. Who is giving the protection? Root cap. Fine. So I repeat, total how many regions are there from tip to base? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Are you getting that? How many regions of root are there? 4. From where? Tip to base. Fine. So here meristematic zone or activity is what? Where the dividing cells are there. More the cells are dividing, more it will start growing more deep. And that cell which is becoming mature, before maturation it has to elongate. This thing will be more clear when we will discuss anatomy. Right now you should know how many regions. That's all. How many regions? 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's it. Where the root hairs are present? In region of maturation, not in the elongation or in meristematic activity. And where the root cap is there, toward tip or a base? It is towards the tip, not towards the base. Fine. I hope so you get it. Meristematic means they keep on dividing. Typically term I will teach you in anatomy part about meristematic, because I am talking about now tissues and cells. Tip means it is apex, right? Being the work is going on like this. The shoot is growing like this, upside. So their tip is towards the aerial part. But here it is growing under that. So here tip is what thing? Under this. Are you getting that? Okay. So this is from base to tip. What I have to take? If they are asking base to tip, then region of maturation you should say first. Region of elongation. Region of meristematic activity, then you should say the root cap. Root cap is not a region actually. This is protecting the region, which one? That is the meristematic activity, that region, because they are very soft cell. If they will damage due to friction when it is coming down, like while playing guitars, we are covering our finger by thimble, no, one cap is coming. Why we are wearing that? Because strings can damage our finger due to friction and by sharpness of that thing. So in the same way, to protect the delicate, this is like a thimble. Thimble means like that cap on our fingers when we are playing the guitar. Are you getting that? So I hope so it is clear. The root cap is protecting the region of meristem or meristematic activity. Fine. So regions of root, base to the tip, that is region of maturation, elongation, meristematic and root cap. What is coming between maturation and meristem? Elongation. Only just you know the sequence. What is the role of such tissues? Actually this is a part of anatomy, not of morphology, external morphology. Fine. Okay, let me to proceed to the next part now. In the next part, modifications. For modification, you know the primary function of the root is what? It will absorb more water and minerals. And plants are standing straight, right? If I write it function, what is the primary function? Let me write here. What is the primary function of the root? Can I say absorption of what thing? Water and minerals. Second is what thing? Anchorage. Means it is going to bind the plant with the soil. If roots are not there, can you imagine plants are standing or it is going to fall? Obviously fall. So it is giving that support to that. That are the main primary. Now modification. What are the modifications of the root? See here. Taproot modification means which is derived from the taproot. Adventitious, actually here just now I said you, the fibrous root ultimately become adventitious. So obviously it will come here. Whether adventitious as such or fibrous modification. I repeat, fibrous later become what thing? Fibrous later become what thing? Adventitious. Fine. So here under the taproot 3 modification we will discuss: storage, nitrogen fixation, respiration, Under adventitious root, we will discuss storage and extra support. Are you getting that? So for that thing, storage and extra support, what example, what are its function, same like we discussed for the stem. Are you getting that? So we will discuss for the here for the roots. Fine. Now coming to the next slide, I am taking taproot modifications here first. Fine, taproot modification. One girl was asking me here right now that carrot, radish and turnip coming under which modification? Root modification, right? Now here, what is the conical type? Conical means broad at the upper side, means towards the base type. Just now I said you this is a base. Can I say this will be the tip now? Just now I spoke to you these terms. Base, tip, like this. Fine. So one point is like a broad and one is going to be narrow. If such shape is coming of modification, that you call it as conical. Fusiform, right? This is what thing? This is the carrot, this is obviously the radish, and this is for the turnip. Why you call it as conical type? Because it is broad at the base and gradually narrow. Fusiform means, listen this point carefully, conical is easy. This is broadened at the center but slowly becomes narrow on both the sides. That you call it as fusiform, like a ship is there. Broader in the center, narrow at the both the side. This is what thing? Fusiform, just shapes, right? You should know the carrot is what type of shape it is having, conical, and radish is what type? Fusiform. And what is napiform? This is in turnip. It is very much broad at the base and suddenly become narrow. It is not gradually, it is suddenly become narrow. No one will ask you definition, only you should know the meaning of terms. Conical, I repeat, broader at one side, narrow at the other end. Fusiform, broader at center, narrow at both the sides. Napiform means broader at the top and gradually is becoming narrow. Fine. So these are taproot modification for storage. Root function is not storage. So that's why it is root modification. Fine. Okay. Storage in the root and second. We will discuss. First of all, we are discussing taproot modification. So there the function can be the storage other than the primary function. Next is nitrogen fixation. Maybe you have a small idea. In your junior classes, you have learned like pea plant is there, pea is there. When you take out its root, it is having these nodules. These nodules have bacteria inside it. It will take up the nitrogen from atmosphere and giving to the plant. Plant has capacity to pick up carbon dioxide, not nitrogen. So these nodules are picking what thing? Nitrogen and giving to the plants. So this is actually not a main role of the roots every time. Again, obviously this is a root modification. I hope so you are getting that. Okay, so storage, I repeat, one girl asked me that carrot, radish, turnip are the root modification. Potato is what? Stem modification. Fine. So this is very important difference where students are getting, you can say, the confusion. Clear? Storage in both the cases, but potato is what thing? For storage, underground stem modification, but here these carrot, radish and turnip are for storage but for the root modification. Now nitrogen fixation is function. Respiration, this is very interesting. In respiration, example is what? Mangrove. Mangrove is such type of plant categories which is growing in a salty or a saline conditions, right? Outside there, the muddy region is more, marshy areas, right? Marshy areas are there, which is not having sufficient oxygen in the soil. So what will happen to that root? See here, this is very interesting. If you will see this slide, no, I will enlarge this thing. See this view. Fine, okay. Now here, when you will see these roots, can you see here they start coming above now? They are no more under the ground, right? They will come above the ground, right? For respiration, because they are feeling suffocated. What is the function of respiration here? Are you getting that? Again, this is what thing? Root modification, because roots are not going to respire, but these are such type of root which will start showing the respiration. Fine. Okay, now coming to the next point. I hope so this point is clear to you. So where we discussed the taproot earlier. I repeat, this is what thing? Taproot modification, storage, nitrogen fixation, respiration. At least you should know that these are the modification of root, not of stem. This nitrogen fixation, like in pea plant, this is for taproot modification, respiration. See, already they have taproot, right? But its function is now suddenly different. It start moving upside, showing the respiration. Are you getting that? So here, nitrogen fixation, I repeat, you are asking, taking the nitrogen from the air as a gaseous form and giving to the plants. Okay, next you are asking, type of respiration happen in every type of plant. No, this type of respiration when roots start coming up, this is only in mangroves. Just now I said you. Mangrove is a category of plants which are living in marshy areas, right? Where the conditions are not favorable in context to soil. Fine. Okay, now coming to the next part. Adventitious root modification. Even there the storage is there, right? But now can you see the example, sweet potato? This is the adventitious root modification. Potato is a stem modification. Sweet potato is a root modification, but adventitious root modification, it is actually fibrous, which gradually become adventitious and started storing the food. Fine. Next after this, extra support. Support root is giving already, like this is of which example? Sugarcane. What example here? Sugarcane. They already have under the ground they already have fibrous root. They already have fibrous root. But they still want extra support. Then on upper side, this is a node point. From the stem, more roots are coming, which you can see from upper side. That's why it is a root modification. Example, sugarcane. Even in case of the maize. Are you getting that? These type of modifications are there. Fine. Okay. Next is what thing? This very familiar plant. That is what thing? Banyan tree. Right? Please listen this point carefully. Banyan tree already have its taproot under the ground. But now from where the roots are coming? Can you see from the branches they are hanging downside? They are hanging downside. The origin is not radical. The origin is other than the radical. What is that? Branches. That's why it is under the adventitious root modification. Here the origin is a stem. That's why again adventitious root modification. Here this is fibrous. Later it become what thing? Adventitious, but it is an adventitious root modification for storage. Are you getting that? Nematophores, yes, that respiratory roots. The respiratory roots, what we have discussed, even you call it as what thing? Nematophores. Pneumatophores. Right? So that you should know. So this all we discussed for the what thing? Root modification. Fibrous root and that root modification. So this is all about what we discussed regarding vegetative part. First we discussed for the stem, then we discussed for what thing? root. Now we are going to discuss about the leaf. Are you getting that? Nematophores are respiratory roots, clear? Which are coming above the ground, clear? Okay, now coming to the leaf part. Can I say the leaf is what type of part of the plant? Can I say it is a photosynthetic part of the plant? Right? So just focus on the points what I am giving you regarding the leaf. Just focus on that point even. Can I say this is a margin of the leaf? Fine. What is this thing? This is a midrib. And what is this green part complete that you call it as lamina, which is actually showing what thing? Photosynthesis. Which is actually showing the photosynthesis. And this part you call it as what thing? Petiole part. The stalk. This is what thing? Stalk of the leaf. And the point where leaf is attached with the main stem, that you call it as leaf base. I repeat, the margin you call it as what thing? Leaf margin. Right? The center, the vein you will take. What is a vein actually? Like in our body we are having vein, veinlets, right? Blood vessels which are helping in transportation of bloods there. Here it is not of blood obviously, this is of water and minerals. So they are helping in conduction. So we call that biggest pipe, or you can say that vein, that you call it as what thing? Midrib. That you can call it as large vein. Large vein is what thing? This midrib, this complete midrib, fine? And it will divide and re-divide depending upon venations. Venations we will discuss. Just keep in your mind right now, what are the parts of leaf? I repeat, this is a margin. This green part you call it as lamina. This stalk you call it as what thing? Petiole. And the point where it is going to attach you call it as leaf base. Fine, parts are clear? And what is the main function of leaf? Photosynthesis and exchange of gases. Exchange of gases. What is the exchange of gases they are doing? Carbon dioxide taking in, oxygen they are giving out. Carbon dioxide is required for photosynthesis. I am taking in context to photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is going to be in and oxygen out. So these are two primary role of the leaf. Now coming on the point, what are the modifications? Can you see the modification? So much modification, very beautiful modification. These are of leaf. The first is, this is an example P. Here the leaf are modified into tendrils. So what function they are doing? They are giving the function to support. What modification first I discussed? Tendril. Watermelon I discussed, that is a modification of stem, tendril. But here in P, the modification of leaf will make a tendril. Fine, this is very important point. I will come on that point, but first of all do remember this part. Modifications are more important, what we have to discuss in today's class. Second are what thing? Spines. Second are what thing? Spines. Spines are what? These are helping in protection. And what example comes over here? Cactus. Right? So function is going to be changed, not a photosynthesis here. Now what is that? I already said you, this is for storage. What example here? Onion, where the leaves are edible. You can eat the leaves. So main function change. Now this is very important. What is that? This you call it as phyllodes. In stem modification I taught you phylloclade and cladode. But here what I am teaching you? Phyllodes. Here what happened? The petiole part will become like a leaf. it is become like a leaf. Which part? Petiole part. Not lamina is lamina, it is there, but petiole becoming modified into what thing? It is coming like what thing? Like a leaf. That you call it as what thing? Phyllodes. So what is the function here? The leaves are, the petiole is modified for photosynthesis. The main function of photosynthesis is of lamina, but not here. Now this is the example of reproduction. Reproduction in which case? Reproduction in case of leaves. Leaves function is not reproduction, but they will form some buds. But you call it as adventitious buds. What do you mean by adventitious? The original place is not stem. Here original place is what thing? Leaf, other than stem. That's why you call it as adventitious buds. Are you getting that? Okay. Then after that, these buds when shed off, it gives rise to new plant. That's why you call it as for reproduction. Fine. Now last modification is what? That is for capturing of what thing? Capturing of insects. Which part? Which part? Lamina part is modified to capture the insect, which is not actually the job of the leaf. On that behalf, what is that? For example, pitcher plant. Like a pitcher it is, like a vase, right? And that's why you call it as a leaf modification. Tendril, what is that? Spines, storage. For that, what you call it as bulb. And here, what is that? Phyllodes, for modification of the petiole part. Then for reproduction, but not sexual by the male female, only by the leaves, right? Then is what thing? This pitcher, which is going to capture the insect, insectivorous plant, which you call it as which plant? Insectivorous plants. Fine. So this is about the leaf modifications. Fine. And you are asking me regarding that concept, this venation. Venation means arrangement of midrib and the veins, right? If the midrib is making the branch and that branch is rebranching and making a network like this, that you call it as reticulate venation, which is a feature of what thing? Dicots. Exceptions we will discuss later, right? Just keep in your mind dicots. And monocots is what? Midrib. What is happening with the midrib? It is in the center, but veins are not going like this. Veins are going parallel to each other. If it is going parallel to each other like this, that you call it as parallel venation. Parallel venation is a feature of whom? Monocots. Reticulate venation is a feature of whom? Dicots. Are you getting that? So that is something extra which we discussed in the last, and this is all about vegetative morphology. Reproductive morphology we will discuss in sexual reproduction in flowering plants. When you will join us, we continue with the more detail of the topics. There we will proceed with that thing. I hope so you understood today's topic. So with that thing, all the best, and try to revise all the things what we discussed, and next lecture we will discuss about the anatomy of the flowering plants. Thank you students, all the very best.